Hi, Year 9. So this is your second biology lesson from me, Miss Savage, and this is all about inheritance. So for your GCSE, you'll be studying the structure of the DNA molecule, its role in the body, what it does. And this lesson aims to give you a bit of a head start for that. So this is going to help you to construct a section on inheritance in your knowledge organizer so that you have got some of the basics already covered and you'll be off to a flying start when you start your GCSEs. Okay, so you should be able to, by the end of this lesson, describe different characteristics within a species. So thinking about humans primarily for this lesson, things like brown hair versus blonde hair or red hair, blue eyes, green eyes, brown eyes, those sort of things, okay? You will also be able to define a chromosome, a gene, DNA as well, and also describe how they are arranged in the cells of our body and the components that make up the DNA molecule. So you can see in the diagram there that we have 4 bases and the names of those bases. So we have cytosine, guanine, adenine, and thymine, and they make up the rungs of what we call, it's almost like rungs of a ladder. So one will be on one side and one will be on the other. And then we have a sugar phosphate backbone, which makes the sides of the ladder. And then the whole thing is twisted into the double helix structure that you're probably familiar with. So deoxyribonucleic acid, you don't need to remember how to spell that because DNA is an accepted abbreviation, so you can always just write DNA. Nobody expects you to write the full name of the molecule in any exam at this stage. So I have included a link for you that will be in the Google Classroom. You can see it just on the bottom left, but if you're watching this on Loom, then pause the video here and access the link through the Google Classroom. Watch the video and then come back here when you're done and we'll go to the first task. Okay, see you in a mo. So the first one that we're going to do today, so the first task is all about characteristics because obviously DNA and the chromosomes that we inherit from our parents, they code for our characteristics. So we need to know what characteristics are before we start delving into what DNA actually does and what it is. So can you arrange your double page spread like so? So your first one you can see here, hopefully it's not back to front for you, characteristics. And I want you to have, so your box is going to contain inherited, environmental, and both, okay? And then if you share any characteristics with anyone, they could be, you know, does your friend have brown hair? You know, if you have brothers and sisters, do they have similar characteristics to you? You know, your thoughts on your characteristics and who you're like and not like. Just some observations, really. So you're going to create 2 main lists, and then if any of the characteristics on those lists could fall into both, then you can pop them in there. So an inherited characteristic is something that is coded for in your DNA, and that comes from your parents or grandparents. An environmental characteristic is something that is caused by your environment or has happened since you were born. So that could be a suntan, it could be colouring your hair, it could be getting a tattoo or a piercing, a scar from an operation, the effects of a disease, anything that's happened to you to change a characteristic or change a characteristic type since you were born is an environmental characteristic. But some, if you think about it, can be both. Okay, so complete that task for me. I've included a video link for this as well. It's just for fun video links. If you're drawing a blank in terms of human characteristics, it would just give you some ideas. I don't think that the probability holds too much weight in terms of how likely people are to have certain characteristics. That's not very scientific, I don't think, but it would just give you some ideas of different characteristics that you can put into your list if you're struggling to think of some. Okay, so when you've done that, so pause me for a moment. When you've done that, come back here and I'll go through the next task with you. Okay, so DNA and chromosomes. So now you know or have a good idea what different characteristics there are with humans, or at least some of them, and whether they are inherited or environmental or both. We can now start to look at the function of DNA and the structure of DNA, which allows it to determine our characteristics. So a big part of what you need to know for GCSE is how DNA is actually arranged in our cells. So DNA it's stored in the nucleus of all body cells. The only exception to that is the red blood cell, because it doesn't have a nucleus, and that just allows it to carry more oxygen. It doesn't need a nucleus because it doesn't do anything else other than get pushed around the body in the bloodstream, picking up and then dropping off oxygen. So it doesn't need one. It's an adaptation to allow it to carry more oxygen, the most oxygen possible, because it needs to be really efficient. So what I'd like you to do is find the definitions for chromosome, gene, and DNA. And then if you can find a nice diagram on Google, or if there was one on the video that you saw just before, you can go back to the video, pause it and draw it from there. But get a diagram into your book and use that second box on your first page. Write your definitions, won't take up very much room, and do a nice little diagram on the other side. Okay, shouldn't take you too long. Just pause the video as always and then come back here when you finish that task and we'll move on to the next one. Okay. All right, so this part is all about understanding the molecule, because DNA is a molecule. It's a biological molecule. Okay, because it occurs in living organisms. All organisms on Earth have DNA, even viruses actually, and they're not even living. So the double helix structure, which I talked to you about right at the start of this video, is made of units. These units are called nucleotides. So the nucleotides have a base, and they have a sugar, and they have a phosphate, okay? And they're put together in the double helix structure. So the sugar phosphate is basically the sides or the backbone that holds everything together, and the bases are the bits that go in between like this, okay? So what I'd like you to do is have a look. So I have got, there's a help link that I will put obviously onto the Google Classroom for you. If you're doing this by PowerPoint, you can just click straight into it, but that I don't think that will work on Loom. So what is a nucleotide made of? What is a base, and how many are there? And what is a base pair, and what are the rules for base pairing? Okay. Your extension for this is, why do we refer to DNA as our genetic code? Okay, and that will help you with the characteristics bit. All right, it is an extension task, so if that's really tricky, you can leave that one. Okay, but it's a really good way to understand and a good way to remember what it is that DNA does. Okay, so you can use, so this will be your second page of your double page spread. Top box, the DNA molecule, bases, nucleotides, pairing, and your extension, if you feel you can complete it. Why do we refer to DNA as our genetic code? Okay. When you've done that, come back here and we'll do the last bit. All right, so last bit, and this is a researchy bit. It's quite interesting. There's lots of things that people sort of say about DNA. You know, we're 99% similar to chimps. if you look at our DNA sequence, we've got 50% DNA in common with bananas, all sorts of things. It's not quite that simple. We share DNA with all other organisms. The difference is the sequence that is contained in the DNA. Gene sequences between organisms may be quite similar, but it's the sum collection of all of them that makes us either very similar or very different. Okay, so what I would like you to do, and there is a YouTube that I've found, and it discusses the whole relationship to chimps. They are our closest ancestor, and we are most closely related to them. But in terms of DNA, really worlds apart because of so much change through evolution, through so many years and so many generations of both species. But have a look around online, see what you can find. What are the organisms that we are most similar to in terms of our DNA, and which are we the least similar to? And just do like a rank order, like a scale, a sliding scale from the most similar to the least similar. You might find something really, really bizarre. You might get a few surprises. I don't know what's going to come out on your list, but I just thought it'd be a really interesting way to finish this lesson, to do some research and find some cool facts about how similar in terms of our DNA we are to any one thing. And if anyone says to you, oh, we've got 50% the same DNA as bananas, so we're 50% banana, you can give them a really sharp biological answer. Okay, so when you obviously, I'm going to stop the video here and let you crack on. All the links will be in the Google Classroom, so you can just click into each one from there. And yeah, send your photos of your work to your teacher as always, so that they're able to set you credits for excellent work. And if you find out something spectacular about our genetic relationships to any weird, bizarre animals, make sure you let your teacher know, because things like that always make us smile, and we love learning things as well. So have fun with this last task. I hope you find something really, really cool. Stay safe, look after yourself. I'll see you soon. Bye.